Times germ. Hello and welcome to Thoughts Hard Coming. This is going to be an edition of the Calm Broadcast Day, or CBD for short. And the name of this episode is going to be The Dreamer Wakes. And really, what it's all about is when I was a kid, I had a lot of questions, like I'm sure many other people did, about religion and how everything sort of works and how we all sort of mesh together and meld together and what all that really means and why we're all here. And what I want this episode to really focus on is not just my experience with it, but I guess I'll give you a little bit of background about how it is that I came to question these sort of things. Not that I'm saying I don't believe in God. I do believe in some sort of universal power, but I wouldn't call it a Judeo-Christian God or anything having to do with most of the things that I've read in the Bible, because yes, I have read the Bible, but that's a different subject for another day. What I'll get to is the main focus of this, which is when I really started to question everything. I was a young boy and I had to figure all this out for myself. And when I started figuring everything out for myself, the first time I actually questioned it, just to give you a little bit of perspective on my viewpoint about all this, I was probably around 10 or 11 in first or second or some grade, and I asked my teacher what the sun was made out of and why it shined, and they couldn't answer that. Keep in mind this was before the internet and before a lot of sci-fi well, she should have known, but she didn't. So she said, "I don't know. I think it's a giant ball of gas." That's basically a description. That wasn't enough for me, so I had to look it up myself, and I learned that there's this thing called nuclear fusion, and it's happening inside the center of the star, and that there's a lot of different kinds of stars, and there's also different types of stars that are all compared to our sun. And I learned that the religions of the planet, just from the Wikipedia page, were a lot of them got started just by belief in sun worship. That's where most of these religions got started. And I really started to connect things to that, and I built my religious beliefs starting from there. That's probably the first time I ever built up what it is you could call belief. Then shortly after, I turned into a nihilist when I was around 14 to 16, questioning my parents in my teenager years. And things sort of evolved, or I guess you could say devolved from that point. And ever since that point, I've been slowly building back up my belief in what you would call spirituality. And it's not that I've struggled recently. It's just that this has always been a question on my mind about what it is that you should believe or shouldn't believe, or who's right or who's not right. Not that any of that really matters, or nor is it the main focus of what I want this topic to be about today, but it really has to do with the simulation theory. And the simulation theory has been around for a very long time, probably around mid 1930s, a little bit after or before. I don't know the specific details, but the simulation theory was popularized by Elon Musk. I'm sure some of the people watching this broadcast know. And for me, I didn't really consider, when I watched something like The Matrix, where, you had the bald guy, probably in the second Matrix or the first, I forget, talking about which pill would you take, the red pill or the blue pill. And I've always struggled with that question, always as I've aged. Does it really matter? And I believe that the question is no, it doesn't really matter, because even if you have answers to questions that other people don't know outright in the world, the answer would seem empty if there was actually something wrong with your life or my life, and what it is that we're doing and how it is that we go about our days. And I think that the main point would really be, if we are or if we aren't, would be, does it matter? Because you can't ask the question, are we in a simulation theory, expecting a yes or no answer. But what you can do is ask, does this matter? Does me being inside of some machine really make a difference? And if it does make a difference to you, then this is just the wrong machine for you. But that being said, this is the only life you have, and I think that you can't give that up easily, and we should always push ourselves and strive for betterment in our beliefs and our spirituality. And I've grown to acknowledge that as I've grown older. I'm 23 now, and I'm about to turn 24. I feel younger, everybody feels a little bit younger, but time always stretches and it always is out of our grasp. One moment is in the past and the next in the future. And it's like my life has always been me going to sleep, forgetting the previous days, and waking up to the present. And that's what my life is going to continue to be until I want to find myself at a very ripe old age. But that being said, let me get back to the main topic, which is what made me think of this and why it is that some people might have questions about this. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we're presented. And what we're presented is chaos. And a lot of our lives are chaos. Now, that's not negative. Chaos isn't always negative. There can always be order within chaos, and we can always find structure even in a chaotic system, no matter how chaotic, which is a mathematical principle. It's a real thing that happens in math. No matter how chaotic a system is, there's always some sort of order to that chaos. Like, you can always pick out something that makes sense. And I think that that's something really special about humans, but I think that it's also a principle of how the universe works. Not just ours, but if there's also other dimensions, I believe that there's always going to be some formulation of order to that system, no matter what it may be. Now, what really inspired me to answer this question was Dan Harmon's Harmontown podcast. I was listening to it because I work in a very loud plant, and I have to listen to podcasts, otherwise I will go insane. Now, he said something within, like, far out, almost out at the end, about a dream that he had, and it really, and let me just read you this rough quote. It's not an exact verbatim quote. I tried my best to basically get the gist of it, but let me just read this for you so you can sort of contemplate it for a second. It was insane, super vivid, weird. There were these dolls I was trying to construct, and when they were completed, they would generate these portals out of their face that were these hula hoops that would come out of their mouth, and then if you put your head through the hula hoops, you were like in a different world. That was really freaky. I realized all too late that the dolls were part of some thing that wanted to take over from another world that wanted me to finish these dolls. Now, I mean, if you contemplate that almost sounds scary. That almost frightens you just by hearing somebody like him say that, and you sort of contemplate, like, well, what does it all have to do with? Does it all have to do with, you under being such great pressure? Or maybe you're at a point in your life where you're actually questioning what relevance it is that you're doing has, or what it is you're creating has. And, you can sort of extrapolate from that he might feel a little bit uncomfortable. But really, I think we all have dreams like this. We don't remember every dream, but we all have dreams like this. And even if we're in some sort of simulation, I think the relevance to these dreams is an argument against the simulation. It makes almost zero sense for them to give us some sort of peace. And I always thought this, and this may not be true, but I always believed this, that I always thought the cavemen still had crazy dreams. Now, this can't be proven. Obviously, there's no way we could research study this or even focus group it or even poll it. There's no answer to that question. If cavemen had some crazy dreams like rocket ships and stuff. Now, I always believed they did because when I was a kid, I had sleep paralysis, and I still have it probably bi-monthly or about every month, maybe a little bit less. My most recent episode, I think, was about 3 or 4 months back. But when I was a kid, the things that I saw when I had sleep paralysis, of course, they scare you, but they're unreal. They're not true. They're delusions. And the sooner you accept that a dream is just a delusion brought forth by your subconscious mind trying to make sense of reality, because this is already so confusing to all of us, the sooner you accept yourself as a human being and what it is that we are all here for. And I think our forefathers put it best when they said that we're here for basically, and they didn't say the pursuit of happiness, they said the pursuit of land, but really just life. We're really here for just life. And we can agree to buy and sell and have these free markets, or even create socialism and try to put forward our best foot and just better ourselves. But there's always going to be questions like that. And there's always going to be doubts in our minds. And we can always go crazy with the situation we're put in, or we can try to make it better for everyone else around us. And I really think that even though there's a lot of scared people right now, and even though that there's this huge life in front of everyone, that I think that we can all carry ourselves better and we can all keep our heads higher the sooner that we realize that these dreams don't define you or I, that these thoughts of different worlds and these thoughts of really freaky things, while they may scare us, they don't make who we are. We make who we are every single day that we wake up. I think that's important. I think that you can't lose grasp of anything like that, because the sooner we do, the sooner we fall into chaos. My name is Maximilian Mahmoud Abdulazim Dehlion, short for Lil M2a2d. You can look up my pseudonym online and find my music everywhere. You can support me on Patreon. You can support me at my Kickstarter. You can support my GoFundMe page. I'm signing out. Hope everyone has a wonderful day, and peace out. Have a great morning, noon, or night. Goodbye.